Parents, have you seen a teen having this episode of functional neurological disorder, short for FND? And guess what? Your teen is also having the same effect, or kind of having this like a copycat moment. It looks like it, but it's actually not what is happening. This is called the mirror neuron effect. What? It's actually a big deal for teens with FND. So in this video, I'm going to explain what this mirror neuron effect is and why some teens, maybe including yours, seem to catch these symptoms from each other or from one another, and most importantly, what you can do to stop this ripple effect to help your teen recover from FND. So let's dive in. Hi, my name is Dr. Ali. I'm a pediatric health psychologist and the founder of Teen FND Academy. So this is where I get to be very, very geeky about what's going on with FND and this thing called the mirror neuron effect. It's actually pretty simple and complex at the same time phenomenon, but this is going to fascinate you. Well, at least I am getting fascinated about this kind of stuff, but it will make sense. All right. So mirror neurons are special brain cells, and I'm going to make it super simple and easy to understand because it's pretty fascinating. Anyway, so mirror neurons, you and I, we all have it, and they turn on when you do something or when you see someone else do the thing. Like when someone yawns, you yawn too. And when you see that the crowd of people running towards one direction and running to the same direction, even though you don't know what is going on there, because you see other people do the thing and then you start doing the same thing. The mechanism of that is the mirror neurons are activated. So the other example would be when you feel sad because your friend is crying, or when you get super excited or mad because you watch something where other people are expressing the same emotions. So basically that's what's going on with the mirror neuron, okay? So that's why we all have this in our brain, whether we like it or not. This is part of survival mechanism, right? And then they help us feel what others feel. And so when your child is actually having FND and also emotionally sensitive or sensitive soul or empath or whatever you want to call it, that is why. Now, let me be clear. Just because your child is emotionally sensitive, quote unquote, doesn't necessarily mean that everyone who is emotionally sensitive has FND, and vice versa. But chances are teens with FND tend to have more sensitive or more activated mirror neurons, okay? And that has been already proven through the science and studies. But that is what's up. So we all have mirror neurons, and that's what this is about. Now, how is FND and mirror neuron connected? Again, as I mentioned, teens with FND usually have really strong or activated mirror neurons, right? So they're kind, they're sensitive, as I mentioned, and very good at picking up feelings around them, okay? So it's like they have like an extra antenna. So if someone near them has an FND episode or symptom, their brain might start doing the same thing without them even trying. And that's why on the surface, they look like they are faking or they're copycatting and all of that, but that is not what is actually happening intentionally. That is what's happening inside their brain. So it means their brain is actually reacting to what it sees. Okay, so that is a connection between teen and the mirror neuron and the FND. But to give you a little bit more of a context, there is this thing called TikTok tics during the pandemic, once upon a time. So during the pandemic, a lot of teens actually started having these tics after watching these TikTok videos. And it was in early 2020, 2021, 2022, in that era. Basically, doctors didn't know what was going on. So they just thought it was just a trend, you know, and then yes, it was a trend. However, it was a little bit more so than that, because now we know it was actually a type of FND, functional tics and functional Tourette's. They look like and smell like and feel like the same thing as a classic tic disorder or the Tourette's syndrome. However, they are not the same thing as FND, functional tics and functional Tourette's. But during the pandemic, there is this thing called, again, TikTok tics, and then a lot of kids started having these symptoms, right? And their mirror neurons are basically picking up what they saw, and their brain and body responded. And that's why, no pun intended, there has been a lot of upticks in neurology clinic about teens coming to their office and clinics and hospitals saying, oh my gosh, my child was totally fine, and then now suddenly having this uncontrollable, very complex tic symptoms and Tourette's-like symptoms. And that we know now it is a type of FND. So why this happens, right? Teens with FNDs let me tell you once again, they don't choose to do this, all right? They're not doing this to get attention or anything like that. Their brains are just extra good at copying feelings and actions. And so that's why FND is not just one thing like a low vitamin D level or this one concussion causing it. It's a concoction of so many things influencing. That's why you can't really do DIY to solve this problem, all right? So teens actually having this extra sensitive or extra strong mirror neurons, they're not a bad thing, right? Because it just means that they need the right environment to heal. So if you are surrounded by those people, I don't know, it's not related to FND, but like negative people, for example, how would you feel? Do you feel very inspired and positive? Chances are not really, right? Like you also feel like you're going down with them because you're surrounded by that kind of people, right? You can't change the mirror neurons and neither can your teens. However, what you can do is you can change what those neurons see and feel every day. That's why in my program, we start with the family because parents, once you know this is what's going on, your teen is not trying to be on the trend or copycat or faking or choosing to do, and you have better understanding. And it's not the same thing as, oh my gosh, then we need to turn off TikTok right away. Well, not really, because then you are the one who is managing it for your teen. It doesn't work, right? But the parents, you need to learn the new skills that may feel a little bit weird first, but they work. And speaking of the environment, teens also need to be in an environment where other teens with FND are actually actively getting better. Right? So this is where the run-in-the-mill, conventional, traditional, quote-unquote support group, where all they talk about how hard things are and doom gloom, and one person starts having the FND episode and others are like kind of having this ripple effect. And then next thing you know, everyone on the Zoom call is having an FND episode. Well, that is a one kind of environment. However, that is not really resolution or healing focused environment. So your job as a parent is to figure out what that right environment would be rather than just thinking about eliminating any and everything out of your teen, right? So what that means is that your teen's brain starts to really copying the healing instead of symptoms when they're in that right kind of environment where other teens with FND are actively recovering. So there's that, right? So if your teen has FND and seems to be picking up these symptoms of other people, your teen is not broken. That's not what they mean. Or is getting really, really bad. Well, it doesn't help, but that's not the end of the world. However, it means they need the support and guidance in a different way, a way that works with their brain, not against it. So hopefully this was helpful. One thing that you have learned is there is this thing called mirror neuron, and there's a bunch of them all over in the brain. And there is a reason why teens with FND have more sensitive or I guess strong mirror neurons. Okay, but that's not the end of the world because that is something we can use to our advantage to actually towards the healing process rather than staying stuck, right? Hopefully this was helpful. Well, if you want to learn more, you can stay and check out so many different videos that I have on my channel. This is where you will find real answers that you have been looking for elsewhere through conventional medical models and hope and the real stories of teens getting their life back. Now, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video.